Hey guys, welcome back to Clownfish TV. This is Kneon. I am here with Geeky Sparkles.
Hello.
And wow, okay, you sent me this yesterday. We're gonna talk about Soul and how people are salty that the overseas version of Soul often does not have black actors playing black roles.
Right, and someone had sent it to me on Twitter because where they're from, they don't have the black actors to do the voiceovers for the black roles.
Right, so... Okay, so we're going to talk about this because there's been a lot of discussion about staying in your own lane, especially when it comes to people of color and roles that are casting people of color, casting white people or non-black people to play black people. That's been a huge controversy.
Oh, and you only can relate to characters that are like you.
Right.
Et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, that's been a huge controversy here in the States for about 6 months, 8 months now. We saw a lot of...
I don't know. It's been going on for a a couple of years. But
yeah,
now, they're really pushing it the last few months. I mean, heck, Disney's even talking. They're going to record all these different sections, and they were, I don't know if they still are, of the parks for anything that might be coded as non-white, including animals, with actors that represent those, what they're coded as.
How do you know what race an animal is? And isn't that kind of racist?
I don't know. You can't just lift up the tail. I don't know what to tell you.
That's like, oh, it's a panda bear. We got to give him a Chinese accent or something.
Right.
That's... Okay.
That's like stereotyping, yeah.
It is. So we're going to talk about this because we've kind of reached, I think, peak idiocy at this point. I understand in America with I guess I'd call it the historical baggage that we have, that you probably want to be more sensitive in regards to all this. But overseas, guess what? Sometimes they don't have a lot of black people in the country, let alone a lot of black people as actors speaking the language. Mm-hmm. That's just kind of how it works.
Yeah, so, sorry.
I'm very sorry. We're going to talk about that before we get into it. Please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants, guys. We're over 171,000, almost 172,000. Hoping for 200,000 soon.
So please subscribe if you haven't done so already, and check to make sure you're still subscribed, because
YouTube.
It seems that they unsubscribe people.
Yeah, YouTube is up to some shenanigans for sure. So this is coming from Slash Film. Soul dubbing ignites controversy overseas as white actors voice black lead. So Jamie Foxx, of course, plays the lead character in Soul, which I was excited about Soul, and then I forgot about it, and I just haven't gotten around to watching it.
I honestly don't care. I know you want to. People say it's good. I don't really care if I see it, honestly. It just doesn't interest me. I know you are very, very big on jazz.
I am.
So this would be a very you movie. It's just not really something I'm interested in.
Yeah, but it's also a Pixar movie, and they tend to be depressing. And I know when it came out, we had some stuff going on, and we were like, I don't know if we want a downer of a movie to watch as family movie night. And
Kneon was dealing with some things.
Well, yeah. And we just, kind of forgot. I forgot about it. I actually forgot Soul's even a thing.
But then we have to have time.
Then we have to have time.
So.
But anyway, I will get to it eventually. I've heard mixed things about it, but I actually was looking forward to this one. You can attest I've been looking forward to it.
Yes, very much. You said you've been saying it for months.
Yeah.
So it came out, and then you forgot all about it.
That happens. You know what happens sometimes is you get excited for a thing, and then you forget when it actually comes out. It feels like it's already been out. Or sometimes, like, I used to look at movies, I'd look up spoilers, and by the time the movie came out, I already knew everything about it going into it. The Force Awakens, I was so excited for it, I already knew literally every plot point.
That's why you don't look up spoilers.
But I wanted to know if I was going to like it or not.
But then you didn't care.
I didn't care. I went to go see it, and I'm like...
I didn't look up spoilers for Wonder Woman, and that's why I was sorely disappointed.
You should have. You should have been like... Anyway, Soul struck a chord not just for its beautiful photorealistic animation or its wrangling with the abstract concepts of life, purpose, and the beyond, but it's...
I wouldn't say that's photorealism, but okay.
I haven't met anyone...
From an art teacher perspective, I would not say that's photorealism. But anyway.
The subway looks good. But for its genuine depiction of the black community centered around Joe, voiced by Jamie Foxx in English. And while a few things can get lost in the translation, the film's transition over to European markets, Those elements remain crucial to Soul, but one choice by many European markets pertaining to the latter, Joe's black identity, has come under scrutiny.
Right, because don't you know that every other country in the world has to look at things the exact same way as people at Slash Films do, or they're just terrible people.
And the New York Times, we can't forget about the New York Times. New York Times, that hates video games too. They do. In European language dubs of Soul, the New York Times reports that Joe and other black characters are frequently voiced by white actors, prompting backlash in several countries like Denmark and Portugal. Ironically enough, some Japanese characters are voiced by Mexican people in Mexico. Too. That's
yeah, I know. Well, I love this.
Have a lot of Japanese people in Mexico.
Well, yeah, exactly, right? Right? How dare they? So in Denmark, I guess the actor who did the voice of Joe, I don't know how to pronounce that. I'm not going to try. There was an outcry because they said that he shouldn't be allowed to play the character because he's not black. Apparently, he's a white actor. So he's
in
like,
Denmark.
Yeah,
imagine that.
My position with regards to any job is very simple. Let the man or woman who can perform the work in the best possible way get the job. Well, you can't say that. You cannot say that. Whatever your name is it Nikolai?
Nick. We're gonna call him Nick.
You can't say that, Nick, because that's not the way it is over here anymore. It was until the last few months when Twitter needed something else to be pissed about, and now where it used to be one of the best things about voice acting was since it was animation, it didn't matter who voiced it. So people of different nationalities, different races, different genders, genders even, could voice characters because they were the one that were the best choice for the character. And it was whatever was best for the character because it didn't matter. No. You can't do that anymore, even if your reasoning makes sense. It has to be, by who's that color, even if they're not as good, because you can't do it otherwise.
Yeah, we'll talk a little bit more about that. We've talked about that before. It's a very complicated, especially here in the States, it's very complicated.
There are non-white people playing white people. I don't care.
Well, Cree Summer. I mean, we've talked about Cree Summer. Okay, so back in the 80s, Cree Summer was Penny on Inspector Gadget. Mm-hmm. And I can't remember her name, Bettina. I can't remember her last name, but she was... No, Bettina, I'm sorry. From Rainbow Bright. She was also black, and she played Rainbow Bright.
Right, and you know what? Did a good job. Didn't care. Still don't care. They did a good job, loved your work, didn't care that you weren't white.
No, it never really mattered. Meanwhile, fast forward, we have Family Guy and the Cleveland Show. We have Mike Henry playing Cleveland for 20 years. 20 years, nobody really cared. A lot of his co-stars were black too, I guess. And then just this year, he had to step down and he got replaced with a sound-alike. A black kid who was mimicking his voice. His voice he originated from Cleveland.
But that's okay because he was the right color.
Yeah, so...
Don't base everything on color unless, your Twitter.
So in Portugal, a petition calling for Soul to be redubbed with actors of color has collected more than 17,000 signatures. 17,000 salty Twitter users. The New York Times notes that white actors voice black characters in many European dubs, with a few exceptions like France, where Joe is voiced by a black actor. And, well, they probably have more black people in France.
They might have had somebody that was readily available. A person who sent this to me, I'm not going to say they are or where they're from, but they said that they're the ones sent the article over, and they said the problem is in their country, they don't have the people that are the black actors that have the background to be able to pull this off. They just don't have them. It's not about racism. It's just because they don't have a lot of people there that could do it. So the choice becomes, do you hire the people who know what the hell they're doing, or you just go pull someone off the street who might be absolute shit just because they're the right color?
Yeah, so there's got to be a balance. We'll talk about this a little bit more.
How can they project all their things onto every other country?
Well, we're dealing with the black community in New York, which they do mention. It's so intrinsic to the story, and how are they going to You're not an actual New Yorker. You don't know what it's like to be in New York. Right.
So, seriously. I mean, it's called acting. Imagine that.
Imagine that. So They even point out, though, they do point out in Slash Film, it says it's complicated. Even the longtime experts in the animation industry don't even have a concrete answer for it. So this is Alex Dudok DeWitt wrote about the ongoing debate over diversity in voice acting in Vulture, noting that many international markets simply don't have enough actors of color to cover all the non-white roles. For example, mostly homogenous countries like Japan or South Korea would likely not be able to hire a black actor to voice Joe. But while it may be a little unsurprising that a Scandinavian country like Denmark wouldn't have a lot of black actors, it's a little unusual that Portugal couldn't find one.
I'm just saying, what's even more ironic about all this is you're taking American sensibilities and American, tight assery and then projecting it onto every other country in the world, like you do with everything. The whole world didn't like a movie. Doesn't matter. It's all because they're alt-right Yahtzees, because everybody is. Because, that's how we label things. Because it's so easy to distill it down to a load of shit that make it understandable for your tiny minds, that you can't understand that maybe that's not the way it is in other countries just because that's the way you see the world.
Isn't that really myopic? And isn't that kind of racisty to project American Western sensibilities on all these other countries that have their own cultures? And it's kind of colonialist.
Kind of. I'm just saying. But wouldn't it be, to me, I guess it would be, since you have this authentic story about New York and being black in New York and all that other stuff, and another country might not have the voice actors to do it, but wouldn't you think it'd be better to have somebody voice it even if they're not black, just to make sure that that the country's exposed to different cultures than themselves? They might not understand what it's like to be a black person in New York because they're not from New York, and two, they don't have many black people in their country. Wouldn't it make more sense to be okay with somebody that's voicing it that's not black, but you're getting the whole idea? Showcase another country who might not otherwise be exposed to that, so they understand things a little more. They're broadened in their viewpoints of the world. Wouldn't that be a little more important?
It would be, because a couple things are jumping out at me. I'm thinking about this. All those Ghibli movies that were translated by Disney and brought out over here is all like white actors doing Japanese, and they're very, very Japanese.
Very much.
Very Japanese Ghibli movies.
Well, anime in general.
Yeah.
You get black and white actors all the time doing the voices of these characters. They're not Asian. What the hell?
Yeah, what the hell?
Because it's stupid.
and beyond that, I'm thinking, you talk about, cultural, communications or understanding other cultures, right? China historically doesn't like movies about the afterlife. They freaking loved Coco. Mm-hmm. Coco. They liked Coco because they thought it was respectful.
And it was, and the Mexican view of it was very similar to their view of it. So they were similar enough that it was fine.
It was a more positive, afterlife.
Ancestors and things like that, which is something that they both share.
So in China, they had Hispanic people playing all the roles, right?
Obviously,
in Coco, they had to have had.
Well, you said about the anime and stuff in the Ghibli films, and they probably would be like, well, we didn't have the Asian voice actors to do the parts. Well, it doesn't matter. You need to go find them. It doesn't matter if they're qualified.
I'm telling you right now, you better get Awkwafina to redub all of the Ghibli movies.
Don't you know, the only Asian actors that matter in Hollywood are those that are from Crazy Rich Asians. Like Henry Golding and Awkwafina.
Henry Golding and Awkwafina can redub every Ghibli movie. We're going to start that change.org petition. Anyway, look, this is kind of a complicated thing, because of, everything that's gone on over the last year. I personally believe it was an overcorrection. Here's my take on it, because there has been colorblind casting for decades. My take is, if your character has been grandfathered in like Cleveland, and you haven't had a lot of backlash, and Mike Henry's okay playing Cleveland, let him play Cleveland. Mm-hmm. Going forward, if you were going to make Cleveland in 2020. Yeah, you probably want to think about it a little bit more because the climate's different.
I get that, but what if somebody is more perfect for the character than somebody else and they happen to be a different ethnicity? What if the character is, Asian but a black man does a better voice for it? What if it's an Asian woman but a black guy could do the perfect voice for the character?
Well, that's silly. You can't do that. Because everybody is only the color of their skin and
Because
their
for
gender.
decades, we had that happen all the time. People that weren't the same race or gender or even did voices of characters, and they just did a good job. And they said a lot of these voice actors loved it because they said they got to play characters they normally wouldn't get to play. They got to be considered for any role, not just a black role or an Asian role or a female role. They got to be considered for any role. So, I mean, that was the ultimate for completely being open to anyone. You couldn't get any more open than that. And they closed all the damn doors. Because, just like being a fan, you only can relate to characters that are like you.
Well, this is what's going to happen. We talked about this before when they were talking about Big Mouth and Mike Henry stepping down as Cleveland and all of this. It's going to have blowback because what's going to happen is everyone is going to be typecast at this point. You're not going to see people like Cree Summer voicing white characters anymore.
Yeah, and then you have this paragraph.
Well, okay, I was going to bring this up. This is coming from Vulture, talking about the black actors in Hollywood. And this is Joan Baker, a black voice actor who is the co-founder of the Society of Voice Arts and Sciences.
Basically, I want more jobs for myself. So, go ahead.
Yeah, we must insist that casting directors, talent agents, and talent managers who are the primary gatekeepers for major voiceover jobs be enlightened to the reality that they're complicit in racial inequality if they don't do the work of matching actors of color with characters of color.
But wait a minute. If there are more, that's one thing. Like, there's a lot of the stuff they're doing dubbing for is like anime. You don't have many characters that are black in anime. It happens, but you don't have that many. So black actors, voice actors, and actresses aren't allowed to ever voice over characters for anime because that's not fair. That's not right. That's not equality. You're basically, by you yelling about this and saying this, you actually are cutting the amount of roles that can be available for certain people, because before they could have any role. It didn't matter if it was, they were a black voice actor. They could play whatever the hell they were good at. But by your own yelling and screaming, you have just chopped down the amount of parts available. You've limited your work. You've limited your scope just by your own bullshit.
You know what's interesting? I'm reading this list, and
Latifah wasn't actually a mammoth.
Yeah, I know, right? I'm reading this list, and this is actually from 5 years ago. This is from 2015. They're like, hey, these black actors you didn't know were characters.
Yeah, we did.
The thing is, what they're showing is like, I guess I would say like they're showing the black characters they voice. They're not talking about, like, they talk about Cree Summer, but they talk about Susie and Rugrats. They're not showing that she was Penny and Inspector Gadget, right, or many of the other voices that she did. Phil Lamar does a ton of non-black characters.
By your bitching, you're limiting yourselves.
Yeah.
You're putting these restrictions in that are limiting yourselves.
I am all for, trying to bring more diverse, and animation's always been pretty diverse, and this is a tough one because I think that there's going to be blowback. I think what's going to happen is only Asians play Asians, only black people play black people. No, you can't try out for whatever character. This robot, you're not actually a robot, so sorry. Whoopi Goldberg was in Captain Planet, but again, they're not pointing out the characters. It's like, holy shit, I had no idea.
Yeah, those things we knew.
R.I.P. Isaac Hayes. But yeah, we get down to Cree Summer, and I'm like, yeah, Cree Summer. Well, here we got Regina King, voiced, little boys. Can't do that.
How dare she?
But Cree Summer, who has she's got a massive resume, and a lot of those characters were white characters. Mm-hmm. Again, we had, black girl playing Rainbow Bright.
I'm a white woman, and I had red hair, like Penny. And you know what? I don't care that she was black. It doesn't bother me.
Oh, this is problematic. She's not actually Mayan. Eartha Kitt's not
That's
actually
right.
Mayan. She played
Even
Yzma.
though I love Yzma and I love Eartha Kitt. So.
I've never seen this Mike Tyson Mysteries. This looks really...
Oh, man. You don't say Mike Tyson voiced himself? I did not know.
This is the most
I had no idea.
This is the most dull
Where's
list.
Mr. T on the list? For his
I love Mr. T.
And his gymnastics team.
Oh my God, I forgot about that. The little redhead with the freckles. It was like the Mary Lou Retton.
Because they all got along, and that was their coach, and no one cared that he was black because no one cared.
So look, I think you try to match people. I guess it's it's a bonus if the right voice is the right color because they're going to bring something to it. And let's be honest, a lot of, races, natural voices, you can a lot of times tell who is speaking or what the race is based on the voice.
Okay, but wait. You should hire people that the character looks like or the character was based on the race because to get the authenticity of that performance.
Right.
Then why the hell do they keep taking all the redheads and making them black? Yeah. Why aren't they hiring redheads? Why do they keep hiring women to play parts and they have them dye their hair red like Amber Heard? Where's the authenticity?
Because there just aren't enough actual redheads. So you got to do what you got to do.
Well, I'm just saying, you can't keep yelling on one side while acting in the other in an opposite manner. And by doing this and by putting this out there, you're just limiting everyone, including yourselves.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to wind up. People are going to get more typecast. I think there are going to be fewer roles. Because then it's not going to be enough. Like, oh, I'm black, but I'm not gay, but this character's gay. So,
well, like I said, a lot of the things that they're dubbing over is anime. A lot of things that number one thing that's coming over here that everybody wants is, and all these studios are grabbing onto is as much anime as they can get. Most of those characters are not black. I'm sorry if you don't want to hear it. There are some, but the majority are not, and they're mostly Asian. But they're getting people that are actors that are not Asian to voice them.
Well, that's just wrong.
How
dare
you?
Stop. All the white and black voice actors, anime dub actors need to quit immediately.
I'm like, you guys are just cutting off your nose to spite your face. It's just dumb. And I mean, I really don't care what race or gender you are. If you're the perfect person for that character and it's a white character and it's a black man playing a white female, if he's perfect for it, I don't care.
That would be funny.
I would, I'm just like, I don't care. Do it. Have fun. Make it awesome. That's all I care about.
White chicks?
I don't know. Well, there you go. Oh, yeah. That's not problematic. But okay. But besides this, I want to talk about something else that's related.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
This is cool.
So you guys have been following us, and you've been following all the controversy, especially around Star Wars. There is this stupid dumbass narrative that you can only relate to characters that are like you. So Star Wars is problematic because the only strong female character they had, which isn't true, was Leia. And that, women need strong female, people in charge because they can't relate to any character that's not like them. They can't relate to Luke. They can't relate to Han. They can only relate to Leia. And we have to make sure we get people of color in these roles because, Finn, only black boys can relate to Finn because he's black. And even though they completely shortchange Finn, and it still pisses me off to this day because I would have loved to have seen Finn as a major role in the movies.
Yeah,
But anyway, here's where it gets fun. Anthony Mackie, dude. Okay. He was on James Corden's late show,
show,
yeah. And they have their show and tell segment. So he's all excited, and he goes and gets his Boba Fett helmet replica because he knew, he called him Jimmy Bullock. He knew him, and he signed it for him. And he says it's like his prized possession, and he keeps it in a case. And he even has a motorcycle helmet that's painted like Boba Fett because Boba Fett is a character that he really loves. And here's what he said. So true story, I met a guy who I idolized as a kid, and I wanted to be this character my entire career. When they recently made a show about him, I told my manager, if I'm not cast as that character, I will never talk to you again. You'll be eating pork and beans in West Hollywood. I wasn't cast as that character. So I met this actor named Jimmy, and Jimmy Bullock was the original Boba Fett. I have an autographed helmet by Jimmy himself as Boba Fett. How cool is that? His character he idolized enough to have gone out and got a motorcycle helmet and everything else. And his most prized possession he wanted to show off was this helmet. And he idolized and he identified with and wanted to be Boba Fett. Boba Fett is not black. How dare he?
Yeah.
How dare he identify with him? Shouldn't he have identified with, Lando? Or, what was...
Orlando. Or
another Lando. I was gonna say in the prequels, Samuel L. Jackson's character.
Oh, Mace Windu. I was gonna say we got two Landos now.
Yes, yes. So
we got two Landos.
Those are the only characters he can identify with and idolize, according to the common viewpoints on Twitter today. He should not be allowed to idolize these people because they are not like him. And because this whole thing is stupid. And personally, on a side note, I thought it was really cool that he had this helmet and he knew Jimmy Bullock and he called him Jimmy and he was like, he's my friend. He was like, I knew him and he signed this for me and this is awesome. And he was so genuinely excited and about it. He went out and he's like, can I get my motorcycle helmet to show you? Because his makeup artist from Cincinnati painted it for him.
That's
and
cool.
they're like, yeah, we'll wait for you to go get it. And he went tearing off to go get his motorcycle helmet. It was the cutest thing. And I was like, dude.
They got to get him on The Mandalorian as another.
I hope they do. Because he was just so genuinely excited. And what I'm excited about is seeing people like Anthony Mackie and, you know, these different actors that are coming out and they're like so excited about classic Star Wars characters. Thanking Mark Hamill. Thanking Star Wars. Talking about how Star Wars meant so much to them. And, you know, how they're fans. And you know what? And it's not, they're not talking about the new stuff. They're talking about the classic stuff. A lot of them, that's what made me want to be a director. That's what made me maybe want to be an actor. This is how much I care about these characters. But, nuh-uh. Let the past die.
You know, I was just thinking how cool it would be 20 years from now if you had a white kid with a signed Stormtrooper helmet by John Boyega being like, oh my God, I freaking loved Finn, except they turned him into a pussy.
I know. And I'm like, and it was such a waste. Because Finn was such a great character. Could have been such a great character. And they completely... Anyway, that's... You only are allowed to relate... You need characters that look like you. Because that's the only way you can idolize and relate to them.
I don't...
but we've begged to differ.
I just feel like we've gone backwards. I mean, you know,
we have gone backwards.
Trying to explain to our kids, like when we were kids, you know, look, I mean... Maybe there's some stuff that needed to be addressed, whatever, and but it did seem like everybody got along better. It seemed like everybody was a little more open-minded sometimes. It seems like a lot of this stuff was handled decades ago, and we're still, you know... Because
what I'm seeing, especially in animation and stuff, is we have to literally undo it all to say that we're the ones that did it. Like this whole narrative that women in animation, women were always kept down, women didn't do anything, women were not allowed to be, they weren't allowed to be showrunners, they weren't allowed to be creators or writers or anything, which is a load of shit. Plus the fact that it's completely disrespectful to the legitimate trailblazers and you know, to the women that were trailblazers, people that were not straight, that were trailblazers or whatever. It's a disservice to those people who actually did break the boundaries, who actually did break the glass ceilings, who actually did, you know, pioneer these fields. Because all they're basically saying is none of that stuff happened until like we did it. And that's not only is it disingenuous, it's insulting. And it's rude and it's just wrong because you're deliberately trying to like bury the past to make yourself, you know, the hero that you aren't.
Well, we know there are some people out there that would love to just bury the past because it's sad and it's problematic. Instead of learning from it and moving on, we just dredge it up, change what actually happened, and make people much more stupid going forward because they don't learn about actual history. But,
right. But, well, you know, whatever. But here's like, you know, this whole thing. Okay, yeah, if they can find black actors to do it, I'm sure a lot of people are doing it. Some countries might just find the best person for the job. And just because they pick something that you wouldn't have picked, you're not in their country. It's not your place to tell them who they should or shouldn't cast for the representation for their country.
It is America's job. It is American Twitter's job to tell everybody in the world what they should think and what they should feel about everything.
What I love is our daughter was telling us about these TikTokers and how the TikTok's taking Twitter to task and they're calling out their extreme bullshit and it's hilarious. But anyway, let's wrap this up.
Yeah, let's wrap it up. It ran longer than we thought it was going to, guys. Please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants. We'll talk later.
Bye.